श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ध्यायामि चिन्मयानन्दं गुरुदेवं महामतिं प्रेमपूर्णं क्रियाशीलं सदा लोकहिते रतं कृपालुं सुन्दराकारं समर्थं सत्यदर्शिनं वाचा तत्त्वप्रकाशिन्या शोकमोहविनाशिनम्। ॐ श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ श्रीकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। हरि ओम, सुप्रभातम। Yesterday we stopped with the thought Sangaha Satsu Vidhiyatam Bhagavataha Bhaktihi Dridhadhiyatam. The topic was, how can I get this knowledge of the truth through which I can gain the permanent peace, the eternal peace, the absolute peace, unconditional peace. And we also described peace according to our understanding currently is absence of sorrow. We are not looking towards that peace. What we are actually looking forward to is the peace which is independent of pleasure or pain, both. A peace which is unconditional, when I said, I meant has no reference to anything other than itself. Therefore, if we have to gain that peace, two things are very important. One is Bhagavad Kripa. And only when there is Bhagavad Kripa, we also will get the appropriate qualified teacher to take us towards him. So, Bhagavad Kripa and Guru Kripa is very important. To gain Bhagavad Kripa and Guru Kripa, we must come to deserve that Kripa. Therefore, samskaras play a vital role. That is why right from the childhood, the child is brought up with lot of traditions, customs, practices, etc., so that the quality and texture of thoughts of the child grows perfectly, grows with lot of samskaras. With those samskaras, that mind will be eligible. That mind is prepared to start gaining the qualifications of a student. Please note, this is qualification of a student. In the Shastra it is said, sadhana chatushtayam, viveka, vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, very important qualifications. Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. And finally, the Mumukshutvam, the irresistible desire to gain that supreme alone. If this takes place, then the student marches forward to gaining the knowledge of the supreme. He gains jnana yogyata siddhi. Through what? Through these preparations. Once he gains that qualification to start learning, then what he has to do is, he has to approach a teacher. And in the 6 qualifications what I mentioned, one of the most important qualification is Shraddha, faith, which we have discussed yesterday. And what is faith? Shastreshu, Guru Vakyeshu, Satya Buddhi Avadharana. Having absolute faith in the Shastra, the scriptures, and in the teachings of the teacher. Think. Without these, we can reach nowhere. Therefore, sadhya sadhana vivekaha, the discrimination between the sadhyam, the goal, and sadhana, the path, and the right knowledge, the right person, right contact, right attitude, all these are extremely important, please. This sadhana sadhya bodhakaha is called Vedaha. And to learn that Veda, one has to approach a teacher. And who is a teacher? Viveka Chudamani describes it as Deshikaha. Who is a Deshikaha? The one who has the right qualified knowledge plus ability to transfer that knowledge to the student. Here, he is not only a teacher who has gone through the syllabus of Veda, who has studied the syllabus of Veda from another qualified teacher, and having the qualification, having the personal experience. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham, it is also said. He must be a Shrotriya. Shrotriya, the one who has gone through the lessons. And Brahmanishta, the one who has established himself. Then the question comes, Swamiji, if you say Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham and Brahmanishta alone can teach, then how many Brahmanishtas are there in the society? Therefore, we have to understand one thing very clearly. To the extent possible, we find one, or we also can find people who represent the Brahmanishta, meaning who has learned from him and who are teaching and who are also continuing their sadhana. With that in mind, one goes to the teacher. And once going to the teacher, one starts completely surrendering at the feet of the teacher and learning this Vedaha. Veda Pramanam. Veda is the authority. Veda is the ultimate. And to gain this knowledge, one has to definitely go to a teacher. One must not attempt. I warn and I repeat and I insist and reiterate. One must not attempt through all these so-called gadgets. They are helpful. They are definitely helpful. I won't negate them. They are helpful, but one has to go to a Pratyaksha Guru and then learn. And Veda has been given to us by Bhagavan Sri Vedavyasji. This all of us know. He compiled all those mantras which are gained by the rishis in their deep meditation. They were heard, and Vedavyasji collected all of them and codified and compiled them into 4 Vedas: Rig, Yajus, Sama and Atharvana. Now this a little description I will give for those who are new to this session. Mananat trayate iti mantraha. It is said. There are 2 things. One is mantraha and other one is shlokaha. What we are going to study in this text, Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam, they are all called shlokaha. Why? It has an author, Sri Vedavyasji. He has composed. He has written himself. Veda is called mantraha. Mantraha because it is not written by anybody. It is apaurusheya. It was heard by the rishis in their meditation and shravana matrena. And earlier days, what did they do? They transferred again verbally to the shishya. There was no format. There was no printed books. The shishya, the mind of the shishyas were so pure. Therefore, once they listen, they could reproduce. They could produce it to that extent. It was verbatim, including the swaras in the Veda. Now our condition with the printed matter, with all the diacritical marks indicating udatta, anudatta, swarita, swara udatta, etc. Still we have to teach 25 times, and after 25 times there is no guarantee that the student will be able to reproduce as it is. Why? Because the modern mind is contaminated with all the whims and fancies of the world. Therefore, purification of the mind is a must to understand the Veda in its total import. The samskaras which I was talking earlier definitely helps in the purification of the mind. Therefore, performing some puja, dhyana, some nama sankirtana, all these are very, very important for developing that purity in ourselves. Then, having compiled these mantras together, codifying them into 4 Vedas, a very beautiful commentator very nicely comments. He says, Vedavyasji recognized 4 Brahmanas and called them, and he gave 4 Vedas to them, and he said, now all 4 of you go and establish and promote and develop these Vedas to the masses. Go. And each one of them went. They started their own way of spreading this knowledge. That is why we all call ourselves, some of us call, I am a Rigvedi, I am a Yajurvedi, I am a Samavedi. From where did it come? From Vedavyasji, who handed it over to the next, generation. This is how evam parampara praptam, it has come till now here. These are called Vedaha. Vedavyasji also wrote lot of other granthas. What do you mean by other granthas? Texts, prakarana granthas also. But among them, the major grantha is the Mahabharata. And Acharya Shankara describes Mahabharata as Bharatam Panchamo Vedaha. Bharata here refers to not India, Bharata refers to Mahabharata. This Grantha Mahabharata is called as Panchamo Vedaha. Why is it called Panchamo Vedaha? And not less a person, Acharya Shankara himself. The reason he did that was, Mahabharata is a text which has everything in it. There is nothing which has not been covered in this universe. Universe, when I say, it is not just this little globe called Earth. Universe means the whole creation. Mahabharata is a complete grantha which encompasses everything in it. And it is said, anything that is not found in Mahabharata does not exist. That is the status Mahabharata has got. Therefore, there is no, it is not at all an exaggeration to say it is a fifth Veda. And to talk of Mahabharata a little more, there are, they say 1 lakh plus shlokas in Mahabharata. Again, one of the very reliable source of information says Mahabharata actually has got 96,000 plus shlokas, and 96,000 shlokas having chanted that, the practice is Mahabharata is always chanted along with Harivamsha. Harivamsha has got another few thousands of shlokas, and therefore Mahabharata plus Harivamsha together is 1 lakh plus shlokas, and therefore it is called Shatasahasri. So Mahabharata is called Shatasahasri. And now tell me, is it possible for all of us to chant 1 lakh shlokas or to learn 1 lakh shlokas? 700 shlokas is Mahabharata. Bhagavad Gita. How many of us have really learnt all these 700 shlokas? Tell me. That itself is very difficult. Bhagavad Gita, oh Swamiji, it is a very long text. It is very difficult, we say. Is it not? Therefore, Mahabharata to study is a very, very, very long process, but a text which has got everything in itself. Therefore, one must take recourse sometime or the other, if not elaborately, at least in the gist form. Sankshipta Mahabharata. Now today we find there are so many writers who has written Mahabharata in a story form. In a story form, meaning what? In small book, like I have read one very, very beautifully written in simple English is our Kamala Subramaniam. Very beautiful book. She has also written on Ramayana. A very, very, very nice book which I definitely recommend everybody to read. And Mahabharata is beautiful. Those are possible for people like us who are also very busy in the worldly life. Bhagavan has given us a beautiful life. In that life, we have no time for knowing about Bhagavan. What a pity, think. Therefore, one has to attempt. Having said that, now we will go one step ahead. In the Mahabharata, there are plenty of Upadeshas given to various people there in Mahabharata, but actually directed to you and me. Bhagavan Shri Vedavyas Ji probably must have thought that time itself that these human beings in the decadence of time will lose all morality and value. Therefore, let me codify and properly write so that there are plenty of snippets of Upadeshas, having gained which one can beautifully modify, mold and make our life wonderful and directed towards that supreme goal. Such wonderful Upadeshas are found. Among all of them, three major Upadeshas are very popular. Why do I say major? Like in Upanishads, there are plenty of Upanishads. Among the plenty of Upanishads, 108 is supposed to be very known. Among the 108, 10 major Upanishads it is said. Why it is called as 10 major Upanishads and the others are called minor Upanishads? The reason is Acharya Shankara has commented upon those 10 Upanishads elaborately. Therefore, they are kept at the top. They are kept in the high pedestal because Acharya Shankara himself has written Bhashya. Similarly, here in these three Upadeshas, Acharya Shankara has given commentary. And therefore, these three Upadeshas in Mahabharata are kept at a very high pedestal. And the three Upadeshas are, one is Sanat Sujatiyam. The first one is called Sanat Sujatiyam. And the second one, all of us know by name. What is that? Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And the third is the text we have taken up, Shri Vishnu Sahasranama. These three are called the major Upadeshas in Mahabharata, which can change the very attitude, the very life and the very being of a human being who studies. Why did Shankara write only for these three, not for others? He had a choice. And he found out that these three make the crux of the whole Veda. The whole Veda can be summarized. At the same time, they are elaborate in itself. They are self-explanatory in itself. However, because of the Bhasha makes a lot of impact. Today, the world recognizes this Samskrita Bhasha as Deva Bhasha. Earlier, it was a popular Bhasha in our Punya Bhumi Bharata. But today, every nook and corner of this globe recognizes Sanskrit as the best, right, and appropriate language, precise in itself. However, because of this precision, because of this perfectness in it, it is a little elaborate compared to the other bhashas and therefore appears difficult. Think. Therefore, very many regional languages, though it is based on Sanskrita, has not unfortunately promoted Sanskrita in these days. There is one place, according to my knowledge, a place near Shivamogga called Mattur, where even today most of the people, if not all of them, speak Sanskrit as a daily common regional language there. Even at home, even the workers speak. Some of the workers, I should make a correction there, some of the workers even now speak Sanskrita there. Such city is still existing, thank God. However, in the other parts of our own land, Sanskrita is not taken very seriously. Probably because of its precision, probably because of its elaboration, probably because of very, very, you can't make a mistake. In the other bhasha, there are a lot of liberal expression possible, acceptable. But in Samskrita, it is not accepted. And however, regional bhasha always takes front stage, Matrabhasha they say, and then giving importance to Matrabhasha, people have actually reduced the importance of Deva Bhasha. Now, these Vedas being in Samskrita requires elaboration. However, Acharya Shankara has elaborated again in Samskrita only. And we now have so many translations of both the text, main text Veda, mantras and the Bhashya. Coming to Sanatsujatiyam, it is an Upadesha given by Sanatsujata to Dhritarashtra. The story goes like this. Raja Dhritarashtra, we also get such thoughts occasionally, wanted to know the Supreme, wanted to know the God, reality, truth. Therefore, he asks Vidura, he says, please explain me this knowledge. But Vidura says, Vidura is born in a lower community, it is described. He says, I am not authenticated to give this knowledge. Probably, we don't know, because of the birth and because of the status or whatever it is. He says, I am not qualified to give you this knowledge, but I can definitely find a person to do it. And then he invokes Sanatsujata, who comes and gives this knowledge to Dhritarashtra. And this Sanatsujatiyam is found in the Udyoga Parva of Mahabharata. This is the first among the three. I am not going to go much in detail because that is not our topic of discussion. But in the introduction, I am giving all this because we should also know the background of Vishnu Sahasranama. Therefore, as I told on the very first day, we are going a little elaborate to understand it, understand the text in its completeness, to the extent possible, if not totally. Now the second one is the most popular. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. A very, very beautiful text, of course, all of us know. Very interestingly, the parents of small children these days, by and large, I always say in general terms, exception sustained. The parents want the children to learn Bhagavad Gita. They don't make attempts to learn themselves. Think. But everybody wants their children to learn Bhagavad Gita. Why? Bhagavad Gita is such a popular text which can give the life management techniques. Life management techniques and all the management jargon. We say a lot of management jargon is there. All these are started from Bhagavad Gita and our Upanishads. They are not, created by the modern era. If people have such ideas, I pity them. Every management technique, whatever you may call in this world, from time immemorial, they are all found beautifully organized in this great grantha called Mahabharata and more focused in Bhagavad Gita, which is found in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhagavad Gita. And we all know it is an Upadesha by Sri Krishna to Arjuna. Again, I am not going to go elaborately on Bhagavad Gita because, as you know, it is not our text for discussion in this session, in the sessions rather. And now comes the third, which actually is our text. What is that? Shri Vishnu Sahasranama. And Vishnu Sahasranama is found in the Anushasana Parva of the Mahabharata. And an Upadesha by Bhishma Pitamaha to Yudhishthira Dharmaraja. And these three are very, very interesting. Why Shankara must have thought of taking these three. The first Upadesha is what? Sanat Sujatiyam by Sanat Sujata to Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra here, the Shishya, is a Shishya with Tamapradhana. Tamapradhana meaning what? He represents Tamas. What is Tamas here? Tamas here is indicated seeing the Sutabhimana of Dhritarashtra, the attachment with his sons, in particular Kauravas. And such deep attachments are nothing but tamas. Now we can also think how much of attachments we all have to various things and beings. It is not one or it is not two. Lakhs and millions of thoughts is spent only on trying to acquire, possess, indulge, embrace, enjoy all the things and beings of the world. In fact, the whole life, if I may use Param Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji's terminology, from the womb to the tomb, our mind has always been outward. Where does it go? Amongst all the whims and fancies of the world. In fact, it becomes so very difficult for us to withdraw the mind when we are standing for hardly 5 minutes. I'm being very liberal when I say 5 minutes. There are so many people. Of course, there are people who sit for 2 hours and 3 hours in puja and everything. But general janta, if you see, people have very less time for Bhagavan. Therefore, the place is also becoming smaller and smaller. That there were days when we had puja room, then it became puja corner, then in some houses it is puja stand, and that too in kitchen. Why? Easy for Naivedyam. From there itself you can do Naivedyam. Like that, even why? My need has increased, therefore accommodation problem. Bhagavan also has become very small. Reason? The number of attachments, the number of demands, the number of wants, the number of desires have become innumerable. Think. There are people, all of us have come across. Why all of us have come across? At one stage of life, even we were like that. What? Whatever we see, we want it. Is it not? We will find out where is it available, go there. Or today, everything is in mobile. Tuck, 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 order. Reason why? Anything I see, I want. This want in a mind has taken the mind far away from what is actually there in us, which is more than sufficient to be peaceful. This tendency of I want yoga and I need it all the time, I don't want to lose kshema, yoga and kshema has taken people's time completely away from himself or herself. Where is peace? We are now in pieces. Not pieces of 8 pieces, 10 pieces, 20 pieces. Millions of pieces we are broken. Think. Acha. By gaining all those products, all the relationships in the world, all ALL, caps, codes, emphasize, italics, bold, all of them cannot give me, underline, cannot give me the peace what I want. Reason is very interesting. How many of us have ever thought about it? Tell me. I cannot gain peace from outside. Why? I am that very nature. Sat, Chit, Ananda Swarupaha Ahameva Asmi. Therefore, since I am of the nature of peace, peace need not come from outside. It cannot come from outside. Probably that is one of the reasons why we are never satisfied with anything which we get from the world. This is one of the reasons why we are never satisfied with any kind of relationships on the world. Because all are caused out of our irresponsible attachments and unintelligent running away from the very source to the whole world outside. This tendency of not recognizing the truth in me and searching in the world outside itself is called tamas from one standpoint. Therefore, Dhritarashtra, who is drowned in attachments, not that we are not, please be aware of this, not that we are not, but we see when we come to hear the stories of Mahabharata, stories of Ramayana, stories of other granthas, or even Panchatantra stories, Akbar Birbal stories, so many stories are available. We are very intelligent in learning the story and transferring it to the children, and then we are unaffected. Think. This tendency to acquire, possess, indulge, embrace, enjoy, and place, now please note, place the dependency factor in the external things and beings itself is tamas. Therefore, Dhritarashtra represents tamas, and we find Sanat Sujata giving the Upadesha to Dhritarashtra on the Supreme Reality. This is the first text. And the second text, of course, we all know, Bhagavan Sri Krishna offers his Upadesha, gives his Upadesha to Arjuna. And now who is Arjuna? Arjuna represents Rajoguna. Dhritarashtra represents Tamoguna. Arjuna represents Rajoguna. What is the difference here? Arjuna by birth is a Kshatriya. By birth is a Kshatriya, and not only that, Arjuna started the whole process to fight. But what happened? For a small period of time, he was deluded by this attachment. To what? Me and mine, my teacher, my brothers, my family, my uncle. This delusion cropped in where? At the battlefield. It was not there right from the beginning. At the battlefield, he recognizes these limitations. And then he as though gives up. But when Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives his Upadesha in the form of Bhagavad Gita, he rises again to the occasion, picks up that bow and arrow, and he fights. And thus he represents Rajoguna. And the third one, which we are going to take up in our study this time, is Shri Vishnu Sahasranama. As I said, found in the Anushasana Parva, which was given by Bhishma Pitamaha to Yudhishthira or Dharmaraja. He is called Dharmaraja because he was following the Dharma perfectly with the guidance of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. How did this start? Now see, Yudhishthira, being Dharmaraja, is of a high caliber personality in his intelligence and in his walk of life. Therefore, he represents Sattva Pradhana. Sattva Pradhana Shishya. He represents Sattva Guna. How do you say the Sattva Guna? Now see. The Kurukshetra war is over. Once the Kurukshetra war is over, Bhishma Pitamaha is lying on the bed of roses, on the bed of arrows. He has his Ichchamaranam. What is Ichchamaranam? He can decide when he wants to give up the body. He has got the boon. Ichchamaranam. So he is waiting for the Uttarayana Kala to give up his body. And he is lying there. War is over. At that time, Krishna calls the Pandavas. And Sri Krishna says, now all of you go to Bhishma Pitamaha and take advice from him. Think about this. If anybody comes and says, after winning a war, remember, and somebody says, now you go and take advice from your enemy, from the enemy camp, what will we think? The amount of ego we all would have. You want an example? Look at the election scenario now. Open the TV. Nothing, Nothing, nothing other than exhibition, expression, desperation of ego. Tu, मैं. This is what is happening. Think. There, because of the election, it is happening. It is also visible. Why? Even in many of our own families. Between husband and wife, tu, मैं. The child goes and takes advice from the father, mother doesn't like. The child goes and takes advice from the mother, father doesn't like. This is happening in many houses. I wouldn't say all the houses. Think. If the child goes and takes advice from the neighbor, both the parents together say, why should you go there? Think. And here, Sri Krishna asks the Pandavas to go to the opposite camp, enemy camp, and take advice from an enemy. How did the Pandavas react? We will see tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.